What if you got 1% better today, and then did it again tomorrow, and the next day, and you kept going for a full year? Would anyone notice at first? Maybe not. 1% is so small your friend might shrug and say it does not matter. But what if that tiny step is the quiet seed that grows into a forest you can walk through next year? What if 1% is not about size but about direction, like moving the steering wheel 1 centimeter and ending up on a completely different road after a long drive? And what if this little turn is the best way to answer those heavy questions you carry when the house gets quiet at night? What am I living for? What truly matters if the noise disappears? How can I live true to my values instead of living on autopilot? Picture today as a clean page. You do not need to fill the whole book. You just write a single neat line. Because you are busy. You have messages, meetings, kids, chores, and a mind that sometimes feels like a crowded market. 1% is your way to breathe in that market. It is a soft but firm choice. You drink one more glass of water. You turn off one notification. You read one page. You say one kind sentence. You put $1 into savings. You ship one small piece of a project. You are not trying to be a superhero. You are building a path you can actually walk day after day. Here is the tension of modern life. Everything around you says bigger, louder, faster. But your soul asks for meaning, for direction, for honesty. So you stand in the middle, pulled by speed on one side and truth on the other. 1% is a peaceful handshake between the two. It respects the rush of the world because it is small and doable. It respects your values because it moves you toward what matters. It accepts that change is hard and that you are human. It chooses progress without violence. And because it is quiet, it can slip past the excuses that usually stop you. Now imagine 3 different paths for the next 365 days. On the first path, you measure 1% in your craft and your work. On the second path, you measure 1% in your relationships and your inner life. On the third path, you measure 1% in your energy and health. You can walk all 3, but let us walk them one by one so your mind can feel the ground under your feet. On the first path, work and craft, you pick one skill that matters to your future. Maybe it is writing clear emails. Maybe it is learning the basics of Python. Maybe it is speaking to a group without feeling your heart jump out of your chest. Maybe it is selling without feeling fake. Today you give it 10 minutes of focus practice. That is all. Tomorrow you give it 10 minutes again. You keep a tiny log so your brain sees proof. You do not judge the quality of each day. You judge the chain. Because a chain is how a bridge is built. After 1 week you notice something real. Your thoughts feel less messy. Words arrive faster. You understand one new idea. You can explain one hard thing to a teammate. After 1 month, you ship a small project you used to postpone. People begin to trust your follow-through. After 3 months, your name quietly rises when someone asks who can handle a tricky task. You did not chase a title. You chased 1%. The title begins to chase you. There is a simple reason this works. When you improve 1% each day, results do not add, they multiply. Think of it like a snowball. You roll it a little today. Tomorrow you roll a ball that is a tiny bit bigger. It picks up more snow because it is bigger, so the next day it grows faster. If you kept that pattern for a full year, the math says the change could be many times larger than your starting point. But do not get carried away by numbers. The point is not to promise magic. The point is to trust the compounding nature of attention. Your daily minutes are like drops of dye placed in clear water. 1 drop looks like nothing. 100 drops color the whole glass. Back to work and craft. The 1% rule helps you beat 2 enemies. The first enemy is perfectionism. Perfectionism whispers that if you cannot do it perfectly, do not start. 1% smiles and says, start tiny, start now, keep going. The second enemy is distraction. Distraction steals your minutes and offers a sugar high of novelty. 1% asks for a simple focus ritual. Close 1 tab, put your phone in a drawer for 10 minutes. Open a blank file, write 3 sentences. When the timer rings, you decide, continue or stop. Most days you will continue, not because of willpower, but because starting makes the work easier than stopping. That is a strange truth. Movement creates fuel. On the second path, relationships and inner life, 1% is a quiet warmth. You send 1 thoughtful message to someone you care about. You listen 1 minute longer before giving advice. You ask 1 deeper question at dinner. What was the best moment of your day and why? You say please and thank you 1 more time than usual. You apologize quicker. You notice your tone and soften it by 1 small notch. You put your phone face down during 1 conversation. You hold your child for one extra breath. You forgive yourself for one old mistake. None of these make headlines, but they make a home. After 1 week, the mood in your house shifts by one shade. After 1 month, arguments shorten because respect grows. After 1 season, trust thickens like soup that has been simmering. You discover a paradox here. You become more you when you focus a little more on others. You are not erasing yourself. You are practicing attention. Attention is love with feet on the ground. This path also includes your relationship with yourself. Many people want to feel different but treat themselves like an enemy. 1% invites you to become a kinder coach. You notice one helpful thought and write it down. You notice one unhelpful thought and release it like a balloon, without making a big scene. You spend one tiny moment naming what you value. Freedom, honesty, service, beauty, wisdom, love. You pick one. If you choose honesty, your 1% is to say what you mean with care. If you choose service, your 1% is to help one person without telling the world about it. If you choose beauty, your 1% is to clean one corner of your desk until it looks like peace. Values do not need a trumpet. They need a daily home. On the third path, energy and health, 1% is your body speaking in small sentences. You walk 5 minutes. You stretch your back. You drink water before coffee. You eat one more handful of vegetables. You go to bed 5 minutes earlier. You turn off screens 30 minutes before sleep once this week. You breathe into your belly for 4 slow counts when stress climbs your neck. These are not dramatic changes. They do not push you into burnout. They lead you into steadiness. After 1 week, you feel a gentle clarity. After 1 month, you have fewer foggy mornings. After 1 season, your body starts to trust you again. And when your body feels safe, your mind thinks better. Your emotional weather becomes less wild. You can sit with discomfort without exploding. That helps every other path. Now let us name the paradox out loud. The smallest steps create the largest distance, but only over time. The slow path is the fastest path once you zoom out. Doing less today creates more tomorrow. Rest is part of progress. And here is another paradox. 1% better is also 1% braver. It is saying yes to being a beginner again and again. It is easy to do a bold move once. It is hard to do a tiny move daily. That is the kind of strength that looks ordinary but changes a life. Of course, there are objections. Maybe you think life does not move in clean lines. You are right. Some days are not better. Some days are worse. You get sick. A deadline explodes. A child needs you at 2 a.m. So what happens to 1% then? You adjust the rule. Improvement is the direction, not a prison. On a bad day, 1% might be simply protecting your minimums. You keep your sleep routine. You drink water. You speak gently. You avoid drama online. You do not chase a fake version of productivity. You return to the chain tomorrow. Because the opposite of compounding growth is compounding decay. One negative choice repeated daily also multiplies. One more scroll at midnight becomes 5. One more angry comment becomes a habit of contempt. One more day of skipping practice becomes a month of rust. The 1% lens helps you catch the small slide while it is still small. Let us get concrete with 3 living scenarios. First, the builder. You choose a project at work that scares you a little but aligns with your values. You break it into stones you can lift. Each day you move 1 stone. You set a 10-minute timer to enter deep work. You remove 1 friction that makes starting hard. You create a visible tracker. You ship a micro milestone every week. You ask for 1 piece of feedback and you act on it. You speak up once in the meeting with a clear point because you wrote it the night before. After 3 months, you carry a real result, not a plan. People can see it. You can see yourself differently. That new identity is the true reward. Promotion or not, you became the kind of person who moves stones. Second, the connector. You are tired of shallow conversations. You also fear conflict. Your 1% is brave kindness. You ask 1 curious question each day. You tell 1 person what you appreciate about them and why. You set 1 boundary with love when you need to. You schedule 1 weekly walk with a friend, phones away. You do 1 screen-free meal with your family. You write 1 honest paragraph in your journal about what you felt today. Not a novel, 1 paragraph. After months, your social world feels less like a crowd and more like a circle. You belong and you let others belong. You also handle hard talks better because you built a base of trust drop by drop. Mistakes do not destroy the bond because attention has made it strong. Third, the steady one. You have tried extreme diets and all or nothing fitness plans. They did not last. Your 1% is gentle consistency. You add a morning stretch while the coffee drips. You keep a water bottle on your desk. You take the stairs once each day. You set bedtime alarms like appointments with your future self. You keep treats, but you slow down and truly taste them. You avoid labeling foods as good or bad. You ask, does this give me energy or steal it? You notice how you feel after a walk and after a doom scroll. You choose the thing that leaves you clearer. In 1 year, you do not become a fitness influencer. You become a person with stable energy who can show up for work, family, and craft. That matters more than a perfect before and after picture. Now let us address fear. You might fear that 1% is too small to protect you from regret. You might think time is running out. The clock is real. But regret grows fastest when you stand still. 1% is motion with mercy. It keeps you moving even when you feel clumsy. You might fear that small steps will trap you in small dreams. But small steps are the only bridge to big dreams that do not break your back. Dreams without a bridge are fantasies. 1% is a bridge builder. How do you choose where to apply 1% today? Ask 3 questions. First, what is the smallest action that moves me toward my deepest value? If your value is freedom, maybe it is learning a tiny bit about money each day. If it is service, maybe it is helping one person quietly. Second, what is the smallest action that removes a pebble from my shoe? Maybe it is unsubscribing from 5 junk emails. Maybe it is putting your keys in the same bowl every night. Third, what is the smallest action I can repeat even when I am tired? If it is too heavy for a bad day, make it lighter. Your environment matters more than your effort, so design it for 1%. Put the book on your pillow. Fill the water bottle in advance. Lay out your workout clothes where you cannot miss them. Hide the candy from easy reach. Place your guitar on a stand in the living room. Delete one app that eats your minutes. Create a rule for your future self when you are calm, so you can follow it when you are stressed. People think discipline is a personality. Often, it is architecture. You design your room and your habits do the rest. Let us also talk about subtraction. 1% better is not always doing more. Sometimes it is doing less but better. You remove one meeting that has no purpose. You say no to one request that does not fit your season. You stop following one account that makes you feel small. You let one project end with dignity. Subtraction reveals the shape of what matters. Like a sculptor, you chip away what is not the statue. The statue is your life with clear edges. What about days when you fail your 1%? You will. So you create a recovery rule. Never miss twice. If you miss a day, you return the next day without drama. You treat it like brushing your teeth. You do not feel shame for missing once. You simply brush again tonight. Shame burns energy you need for the climb. Gentle honesty keeps you moving. Notice how this way of living affects your mind. You become less reactive because you have a plan so small that stress cannot break it. You feel less envy because you compare yourself to your past self, not to strangers on a screen. You feel more respect for your future self because you send them small gifts each day. You also become a better friend because you know how to build trust in tiny deposits. Work gets sharper because you learn in short loops instead of long stalls. Health becomes a rhythm, not a fight. This is not a fantasy. It is the natural result of compounding attention. There is a quiet spiritual side to all this. When you make one honest choice today, you honor the person you are becoming, not just the person you have been. Hashtag @meta, pause. Sex 0.05. You live in alignment with values that outlast trends. You discover that meaning grows in the soil of repeated acts. You learn to sit with the discomfort of the middle. You respect time as a partner, not a thief. And you realize something gentle and surprising. The life you want is not across a golden door someday. It is hiding inside the small choices available today. So here is your 24-hour challenge. Choose one area: work, relationships, or energy. Write one sentence that names the smallest useful action you can do in 5 minutes or less. Do it now or schedule it today. Remove one friction that would stop you. Celebrate with one deep breath, not a huge reward. At night, write one line in a simple log: what you did, how it felt, and the value it served. That is it. If you want extra credit, invite one friend to join you for 7 days. Share your tiny wins. Keep it playful. Before we close, ask yourself 3 questions to plant this year. If everything noisy disappeared, what would still matter enough that I would work on it every day, even for 5 minutes? Which tiny step would I be proud of repeating for a year, even if nobody knew? How will I be kind to myself on the days I cannot do it, so I can return the next day with a clear heart? If you want a simple guide to carry in your pocket, here it is. Begin smaller than you think. Remove one friction. Track in a line, not a novel. Never miss twice. Serve a value, not just a metric. Share your progress with one person you trust. Repeat until the path feels like home. If you agree that 1% can reshape a year, comment 1. If you disagree, comment 0 and tell me why. Because your view can help us all learn. If you are ready to try, write one honest promise in the comments about the tiny step you will take in the next 24 hours. Make it so small you can do it even on your worst day. Take this final line with you like a pocket stone you can touch when you feel lost. Small choices, repeated with care, become a life that fits your soul.